we just kind of want to give our thoughts and updates on everything that's happened so far through the NFL season. This is about as close to the midway point as you can get. Um, it's been a really weird season so far. A lot of our takes from our first pod, not really the greatest, but we did hit on some things
We
with
hit on
that.
some. Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't give us the. We got some that were correct.
like the Colts Super Bowl.
That one. That one was right there. That one was right there. I mean, I had the Packers, so I'm not too far
Yeah, our
back.
Super Bowl picks were pretty bad. But yeah, so I want to ask about how you feel about. Do you feel like there are more injuries, significant injuries this year? Or do you think it's just like any other season?
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of injuries this year, and I think it's more. I think it's progressively gotten worse as the years have gone on. Like last year, I thought, man, there's a lot of injuries, and this year's it's like even more. Like I looked on the Dolphins like injury report, and it's like there's at least 20 players on there. It's just ridiculous, and like I don't know if it's like at practice, they had to change everything for the new like collective bargaining where they can't like actively hit as much and things like that. Does that have a lot to go
I,
into it?
I was gonna say I think it does have something to do with it because if you think back like 10, 15 years ago, a lot of people that would come back from injury, they would treat them like, with utmost care.
Right.
And then what happens as soon as they get game actions, they get hurt again because as weird as it sounds, I think your body kind of builds up a little bit of a tolerance from being hit over and over again. And if you avoid that, and you think about team practices, nobody's getting hit low.
Yeah.
But
Or
for
at
these,
all, really. It's
yeah,
probably more
ever.
wraps than anything.
And coaches actually advise against going low against your own teams in practice. And I think that's kind of an issue because you see so many lower body injuries, and I don't know if it's the field. The most recent is Brees Hall, right? He got hit low, and
Yeah.
now he's out for the season with the torn ACL, I
And
think.
yeah, and I don't know if it's turf either. It's
Yeah,
a
the
lot of
field.
ACLs. Well, ACL is the biggest injury, and a lot of Achilles this year. I feel like there's quite a few Achilles injuries. There's a lot of like quad pulls and hamstring pulls. It's like a lot of muscular, like I don't know if maybe the training regimens have taken like a step back just for like the collective health of the players, and maybe that has a lot to do with it.
Do you think a
Uh,
lot of it too is like the players kind of protect themselves? Like
it
they choose not to play through injury anymore? Do you think?
and it can even it's that, and also I feel like they're rushing back quickly too. This is a day and age where they want to get on the field and like I don't know. I just feel like with Tua, like the whole thing with Tua coming back in 2 weeks with the head injury, and even some players coming back like a lot sooner than they probably should,
Yeah,
which they're not really healing 100%. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. But I think the big thing is just I don't think the training regimens are like they were. You remember like 10 years ago they had the 2 a days during training camps, and I feel like because like the NFL is moving towards that safety, the player safety, they went lax a little bit. Well, you're gonna get a lot of injuries where it comes to like training um, and things of that nature. And maybe their bodies aren't 100% ready for the grueling season. Plus, they added additional game.
yeah,
The Thursday night games do not help. They need to get rid of those.
especially with the
Um,
short schedules afterwards.
right.
I
But I just
wonder if
yeah.
there's a way we could pull up like how many people got injured off the short week.
Well, I know the big Tua injury happened off the short week. There's at least every Thursday night game. There's been a big injury to where like the other teams are on a knee. I feel like it's been like 3 straight weeks where that's happened. Like when the player gets so injured so bad that they are all taking a knee.
Yeah.
I feel like there's always like a big injury on Thursday nights. I don't know. It's such bad football too. Those Thursday night games,
The
like
last
that.
Thursday night game, who was the last one?
The Bucks and the Ravens.
I mean before the Bucks. Was it the Cardinals?
Oh, they were Yeah, the Cardinals Saints. That was all right.
Yeah, it was okay. Uh,
Um, I don't know. I just
yeah, the Bucks game was terrible. I don't even want to talk about that, especially being a Bucks fan. Like, and you've heard me over. I guess I'm somewhat of a pessimist, I think I'm a realist, but other Bucks fans, I piss them off all the time. But like I saw this coming, and I explained to you several times. I was like, you know, the rebuild could have been this could have been year one of the rebuild, but instead we're gonna have to rebuild when you know Mike Evans is another year older, Chris Godwin is another year of
Right.
taking beating, and we don't have a tight end. We our O line is old and hurt aside from Tristan Wirfs. Um,
You guys, I said at the beginning of the year the Bucks are very old. I kid my dad because he's my stepdad. He's a huge Bucks fan, and I call him the geriatric team of the NFL because they're across the board. They're an older team. Like they were built to win now, like a couple of years ago,
yeah,
and now we're on the tail end of that. And it's like your guys are starting to reap. Like unfortunately, like a lot of these players are old. Um, Especially on the most crucial spots. I mean, I feel like you're the offensive line, like you said, and like the front seven of the
and our
defensive line as
draft
well.
picks haven't showed up at all. Joe Tyron Shinoika, Logan Hall. I mean, I don't really. I'll be honest. I haven't paid too much attention to him, but I don't hear his name called very often. And
And and Devin White had his worst game of his career
I,
last.
a lot of people think I hate Devin White. I don't hate Devin White. I think Devin White has all the potential in the world. The issue is he's not performing to it,
You kiss your mother
and
with that mouth?
he's not like developing further. In fact, I think he's kind of regressing, which is
No, I would agree. He was his best season was his rookie season.
it's not a good feeling as a Bucks fan because he's supposed to be our guy, and
How dare you?
unfortunately, as it stands right now, I don't think he's even close to Levante David.
Oh no, 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 no.
Even right now, Levante David as age.
Right,
Um,
right.
I think Levante David should, when we start our rebuild, I think we should let him go and let him go compete somewhere.
Yeah, it's as a to one of the and the Super Bowl contenders for sure.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to give you a couple teams, and I'm going to ask you a quick question
Yeah,
on these
yeah.
guys. So, you know, who between the Giants and the Jets, who are you more surprised at their success?
Definitely those two teams are probably my top two successes. I would I the one I'm most surprised about are probably the New York Jets just because of them being in the AFC, them being in the AFC East. Um they're currently 5-2. And granted, if you look at who they've played all backup quarterbacks. They played Miami when they had Skylar Thompson in. They played Brett Ripien of Denver, even though Broncos country Let's Ride isn't playing up to par as well, which we'll kind of talk about probably later.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm surprised at the Jets. I think I'm waiting patiently for them to implode because I know they will. Because I said in the first pod we ever did, you only go as far as your quarterback can
Your
take you,
quarterback, yeah.
and Zach Wilson
He's terrible.
is not good. And once they start hitting Buffalo twice, they're not going to beat New England twice, as bad as they're looking. They're not going to beat Miami again. So they're going to run into some teams, and Zach Wilson's going to have to win them the game, and they can't. They lost Brees Hall, who was balling.
Yeah,
And
I did like the James Robinson signing though.
I think that'll be good. And Michael Carter is no scrub either. He's good as well.
The thing with Michael Carter, he's not as explosive, but he can do a lot of the things Brees can do in terms of catching the ball.
Yes, for sure. He's
Stuff like that.
shifty. He's a good scat back, catching the ball out of the backfield. Sauce Gardner's playing well. I just think that it's fool's gold with them, and I think that
You're a jerk.
they'll end up with like a 800 record, maybe a little below 800. I think that they're 5-2 now, but they're not going to make the playoffs.
I was gonna say, I think I looked at the schedule, and if they can manage like a 500 record the remainder of the season, then they have a solid chance of making the playoffs. But their schedule does get tougher.
I will say though, I'm surprised that the Giants are 6-1. Um,
It is surprising, but I love their coach and their defense. I don't even think their defense is as good as it's gonna be. Um, I think
yeah,
Olajari and Thibodeau together can become an elite pass rush duo.
yeah.
and they do it in different ways. Like Olajari is a guy who's going to beat you with like nothing but speed, and Thibodeau is quick, but he's so strong.
At the point of attack for sure. He
And
was he was my defensive player of the year. I don't think he's gonna put up the numbers to get it, but he's just a solid
he is
player.
hurt, so
Right.
it wasn't fair. But yeah, I think, and then you had Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams in the middle. I think, yeah, I think the Giants have a really, really good defensive foundation to build on. I like Xavier McKinney as well. He's a good player. Julian Love, their safety, he's kind of filled into that like do it all role, which I wasn't expecting. But the coach is doing really well, and he's brought out the best we've seen from
And
Daniel
Daniels.
Jones.
Yep. When do we start calling Dable a quarterback whisperer? He brought the best out of Josh Allen, got him to a good spot, and now he's doing the same. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is on Josh Allen's
Yeah, no,
level,
of course.
but I mean, if you want to compare Daniel Jones to a quarterback in the league, I mean, he's pretty similar to what Josh Allen can do. He doesn't necessarily have the cannon that Josh Allen has,
or
but
like the running ability,
but I still think Daniel Jones has capable running ability.
yeah, he's fast.
Like he's not going to truck you
Yeah, exactly.
or hurdle you.
That's what I'm talking about.
But
Josh Allen's just different, but
Josh Allen's a special one of
in
a
terms
kind.
of like the box score, when you look at the rushing numbers, it's going to be similar for sure.
Yeah.
So the Bengals look like their offense might be back on track after like a really weak start. Jamar Chase is gonna avoid the IR list. I think I read.
Yeah, they just said that. Yep.
Um,
And if you look at the schedule, their next like 4 games, they can win without him. So they're actually losing him in a pretty. If you're gonna lose him, it's a pretty good chunk of their schedule where that they're losing him at.
so then you have, because this is more surprising to me, but you took the Jets over the Giants as a bigger surprise.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm gonna ask you, the Jets or the Seahawks, who's the bigger surprise?
I will say Seattle. I thought they were going to be a dumpster fire. If you can remember me back, what I said
We're on
they
the
were
same
going to be
page.
right.
Like
Geno
told-
Smith. Geno Smith. I'm proud of the guy. I mean, he's bounced around the league
it's a great story.
and he's come in and just played his ass off this year. The defense is playing well. Their corner, that rookie corner, Sauce is getting all the recognition, but Tariq Woolen is a monster. He's actually more of a playmaker than Sauce is. Sauce is the more
6'4", he can fly.
right. Sauce is the more lockdown guy, but as far as playmaking, kind of compared to Xavier Howard. Howard, he's a good man corner. He gets beat, but Howard has great ball skills, some of the best ball skills in the league. So I feel like
It reminds me of
kind of that
Asante
situation.
Samuel.
Yeah, where Asante Samuel would get beat, but he would make you pay if you went at him too many times.
Yeah.
But I'm proud of the Seahawks. I'm proud of them. They've worked their butt off, and they're looking like their front office is looking like
Geniuses. Yeah. If you told me that a supposed quarterback battle between Drew Lock and Geno Smith would turn into the amount of success that Seattle's had right now, I would have never bet money on that ever.
And if you would have told me that Geno Smith is having the better season than Russell Wilson,
again, also never would have bet on that
ever.
Mm-mm.
But I think Seattle's my number one surprise of this season.
Yeah, and if somebody, I mean, I guess some people like you could say the Giants, like maybe I would understand that as well, but they did get Saquon back. Saquon, I don't know if he stays on pace for what he's doing right now. I'm not sure he'll win MVP, but I think he'll snag a couple votes.
He'll definitely get comeback player of the year.
Yeah.
And maybe offensive player of the year, but they normally go quarterback. That's just how the league is.
Yeah, I don't think he'll win it, but I think that he'll be able to steal like a couple votes.
Yeah, I could see it.
So Super Bowl favorites, who you, based on what you've seen so far this season, who you think is gonna?
My AFC is still intact. Buffalo, I had them in the Super Bowl. I had Allen winning the MVP. And they're the best team in the NFL right now, even though Dolphins beat them. But they're the only loss on their record right now. But they're going to be a hard team to beat. and the playoffs because of the home field advantage as well. Going up to Buffalo in January is
It's
going to
not
be
going to be
tough.
fun.
It's going to be tough. So I think they're going to be in the Super Bowl. NFC is hard. Eagles are hot right now, but I don't know if they're going to sustain it in the playoffs.
The reason why I like the Eagles so much is because if you look at their roster top to bottom, there's not a hole.
No, there's not.
They are like the most complete team in the league. Because I mean Buffalo is very complete as well,
Yeah.
but like they have um Buffalo has a receiver, Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis, who's doing
Mm.
well, and then Isaiah McKenzie. But like Diggs and Gabriel Davis, I don't think that duo is as good as AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Dallas Goddard. Like Dawson Knox is okay. I think Jalen Hurts has better weapons. I think he's actually a very similar quarterback to Josh Allen. He's relies more on his legs than he does his arm, which is the whole game plan for them. They run the ball, they chew the clock, they play possession, and they play really good defense. I see people talking about they should have traded for a running back. I don't know why.
Yeah, I hear the Kamara rumors. I don't really think they need him with Miles Sanders is playing really
Yeah,
well.
Miles Sanders is doing really good.
Plus, I have Miles Sanders on my fantasy team, so please don't trade him. Alvin
I
Kamara
also
too.
feel like they have two capable backups in Kenneth Gainwell and Scott. And they've used them all in different ways.
Yeah,
So I don't really see them giving up more than what they did already. They did
And-
get Robert Quinn,
that's gonna be huge. That's gonna be huge.
especially for playoff games. Like,
Right.
you
And my
can't
thing
replace
is,
that.
okay, so the Eagles are hot right now. Who else is there in the NFC that you could logistically see take them down? Like, I feel like there's, I was talking about disappointments. Pretty much all my disappointments are coming from the NFC. The powerhouse NFC teams coming into the year are all the disappointments. The Rams, Packers, Bucks. Those three teams right there were Super Bowl favorites on the NFC side. Half of those may not even make the playoffs. So we're talking who's going to take them down in the playoffs? The Vikings? No. Who's going to take them?
Giants.
I mean, the Cowboys are playing well, but I mean, I don't think the Cowboys have a good defense. I mean, the Eagles and the NFC. Who's going to compete against the Eagles?
Yeah, I don't think anybody can really compete with the Eagles right now out of the NFC. I mean, we obviously have a little bit of time left to see how legit the Giants are. Like they could be one of those teams that just continuously build momentum heading into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And we've seen stories like that often. Last year, the Bengals were one of those teams.
It's just hard for me to trust these teams that are hot now. In the playoffs, it's just so quarterback centric. Like normally 9 times out of 10, the team with the best quarterback kind of prevails. Now I know that's not the case. You have Super Bowls where Trent Dilfer won a
Yeah,
Super
of
Bowl,
course.
things like that. But I mean, especially in this day
It's a
and
common
age,
theme, though.
I tend to trust the teams that have the stronger leader. In that fourth quarter, when you're down 4 points and deep in the playoffs, you need that guy to kind of step up. Will Daniel Jones do that? Is the question.
I think he has the most game-winning drives this year.
He does. He does.
Okay, cool. I didn't want to be wrong, but I
No,
did hear that
he
somewhere.
literally, it said like he's like the first quarterback, like for the first like 6 weeks or something like that, to have like all comeback drives. Now, who were those comeback drives against? Jacksonville, the teams that they're playing, but you play the teams on your schedule. So we'll see on that front. But Super Bowl favorites, I guess right now, Buffalo and Philadelphia, because they're the two hottest.
Yeah.